The Chicago Bears head into Week 1 with their roster mostly set, but as the dust of training camp and preseason begins to settle, there are some glaring concerns that fans and analysts can't ignore. All eyes now turn to the opener against the Minnesota Vikings, and the conversation surrounding this team is already buzzing with questions. One of the biggest talking points has been the state of the pass rush, or better yet, the lack of it. If you watched the preseason games closely, particularly the one against Kansas City, it was hard not to feel uneasy. Sure, schemes are basic in the preseason, and coaches are not dialing up exotic blitz packages or disguises, but one-on-one matchups tell a story, and that story wasn't a good one for Chicago. The Bears' edge rushers looked outmatched more often than not, and for a unit that has struggled in this department for years, the early signs do not inspire confidence. Montez Sweat is supposed to be the centerpiece of this defensive front, the high-priced star who dictates matchups. But did anyone even notice him on the field? His name was barely mentioned, and while you can point to last year's foot injury or chalk it up to shaking off the rust, the reality is simple. If you're getting paid like a franchise cornerstone, fans expect you to play like one. The investment in free agency has to yield results, especially when you're building around a defense that desperately needs difference makers. The depth behind Sweat doesn't provide much comfort either. Austin Booker flashed in the early preseason games, giving some hope that maybe the rookie could be a surprise contributor, but now he is sidelined with an injury and may not even be available for the opener. Dominique Robinson remains on the roster, but at this point, what exactly is the expectation? He has yet to show that he can be a reliable rotational piece, let alone a starter. Daniel Hardy could get sprinkled into some situational packages, but that's hardly a solution. The more you look at this defensive end group, the more it becomes clear that defensive coordinator Dennis Allen will have to manufacture pressure through scheme rather than talent. That's a huge shift from the old regime under Matt Eberflus, who lived and died by a philosophy of rushing with 4 and keeping the back end clean. Allen, thankfully, has shown he's not afraid to bring heat, mix in stunts, and disguise coverage. That creativity may be the Bears' only path to rattling opposing quarterbacks early on. But let's be real. If you can't win straight up with your front four, you're always playing with fire. Blitzing creates opportunities, but it also leaves you exposed. And in a division with quarterbacks who can make you pay, that's a risky way to live week after week. Pass rush has been an issue for this team for years, and it doesn't look like it's magically going away in 2 weeks of prep before the season starts. The concern level is high, and for good reason. Strip sacks and quick pressures change games. They flip momentum, create turnovers, and give your offense short fields. Without them, you're forcing your defense to play long, draining drives, and the margin for error shrinks dramatically. That's why even if the Bears' secondary and linebackers perform well, the lack of heat up front could put a cap on how good this defense can actually be. It's not about being average. It's about whether you can tilt the field in your favor. And right now, the answer feels like a resounding not yet. The second major issue staring this roster in the face is the injury bug. It feels like the dam has cracked all at once. During much of camp, the team was fairly healthy, outside of the Jalen Johnson situation and Kyler Gordon missing some time. But as the calendar flipped closer to September, names started piling up. Just look at the list. Jaquan Brisker went down recently. Jalen Johnson hasn't practiced all summer. TJ Edwards left practice and hasn't fully returned. Tremaine Edmonds has been banged up, and both Booker and Robinson are nursing injuries on the edge. Even if some of these players are day-to-day rather than long-term concerns, the timing could not be worse. You're preparing for a divisional opponent in prime time with a new coaching staff trying to set the tone, and you might be down multiple starters across all 3 levels of the defense. That's a recipe for a rough night against a Minnesota team that still has plenty of weapons. Justin Jefferson is a nightmare in any situation, and even if Jordan Addison is out of the picture, you still have Adam Thielen, a reliable tight end in TJ Hawkinson, and a system that thrives on misdirection and tempo. Kevin O'Connell knows how to get the most out of his offense, and if the Bears are missing key defenders, Minnesota will waste no time attacking those soft spots. Losing depth players hurts too, because rotation matters over the course of 60 minutes. Terrell Smith is out for the year, removing a valuable piece at corner. Special teams also take a hit with injuries to players like Emin Ogbongbemiga, who may not start on defense, but makes an impact in coverage units. Even rookies like Jervin Dexter and Zach Pickens, who fans hope can contribute inside, have had their own setbacks in terms of readiness. When you start stacking these issues together, it paints a picture of a defense that may not be firing on all cylinders until well into the season. That leaves a massive question. Can the offense shoulder more of the load early on than originally expected? Because if the defense is shorthanded and not generating pressure, you may need Caleb Williams and this new-look unit to score in the high 20s just to keep games competitive. That's not the blueprint most people envisioned, but it might be the reality in the first month. And then comes the third concern, one that might be even scarier in the long run: left tackle. Protecting your quarterback's blind side is one of the most important jobs on the entire roster, and right now the Bears don't have a clear answer. Braxton Jones appears to be the likely starter by default, not because he dominated camp, but because no one else sees the opportunity. Rookie Kieran Amegadjie hit the proverbial wall and slid back to the right side. Larry Bourne has been inconsistent, and Jones, despite his struggles, at least has starting experience under his belt. But here's the problem. He doesn't look like the same player he was before the ankle injury. One of his biggest strengths has always been his athleticism, the quick feet that allowed him to recover against speed rushers. In the preseason, that quickness wasn't there. He looked heavy-footed, vulnerable to inside moves, and overall less confident in pass protection. He gave up multiple pressures and a sack in limited action, and that's not what you want to see from the man tasked with keeping your franchise quarterback upright. Sure, having Joe Thuney next to him at left guard will help, providing veteran stability and communication, but at the end of the day, the left tackle has to handle one-on-one assignments. And let's be honest, the NFC North isn't lacking dangerous pass rushers. You're going to see guys like Aiden Hutchinson, Rashawn Gary, and Danielle Hunter regularly. If Jones is anything less than solid, Williams is going to spend a lot of time on the ground, and that's the last thing you want for a rookie quarterback trying to find his rhythm. The psychological side of this can't be ignored either. For years, the Bears' offense has been defined by frustration, 3-and-outs, and the inability to sustain drives. When fans hear Bears offense, the first thought hasn't been excitement, it's been dread. Caleb Williams has the power to change that narrative, but he also has to fight against the weight of history. Every mistake will be amplified, every growing pain will be analyzed, and every interception will fuel the narrative of whether this is finally the guy or just another name in the long line of failed experiments. That is why the first few games matter more than they should. It's not about whether Williams throws for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns in his debut. It's about whether he looks comfortable, whether he looks like he belongs. If he can make a few special plays, extend a few drives, and show flashes of why he was the #1 pick, the city will rally behind him. The patience will come. But if the struggles look overwhelming, if he spends the night running for his life or staring down defenders, doubt can creep in quickly. That's where coaching plays its biggest role. Ben Johnson and this offensive staff have to put Williams in positions to succeed. That means quick throws, moving pockets, design rollouts, and leaning on the run game when needed. Don't ask him to be a superhero every snap. Don't put him in 3rd-and-long situations where the defense knows exactly what's coming. Let him build confidence, let him stack completions, and let him feel like the offense is under his control. Every rookie quarterback has growing pains, but the best coaching staffs know how to minimize the damage and maximize the strengths. Chicago's ability to do that in September could be the difference between treading water and actually building momentum. The other side of this is the locker room itself. Veterans are watching. Players who have been around long enough to know how fleeting NFL windows can be are paying attention to how this young quarterback carries himself. Leadership isn't just about fiery speeches or chest thumping. It's about consistency. It's about being the same guy on Wednesday morning as you're on Sunday night. Williams doesn't need to command the locker room yet, but he does need to earn trust. That comes from preparation, from taking hits and getting back up, from owning mistakes and learning from them. If he does that, the veterans will rally behind him, and the locker room will start to believe this is the guy who can finally lead them where they want to go. And let's not overlook the magnitude of the first 2 weeks. Minnesota and Detroit represent not only divisional games, but also cultural tests. If you want to flip the narrative of being the little brother in the NFC North, you can't start 0-2 in the division. A split would be massive, not just in terms of standings, but in terms of confidence. Steal a win in prime time against the Vikings, and suddenly the conversation changes. Drop both games, and you're staring at an uphill climb before the season even gets rolling. That's why these injuries matter so much, why the pass rush is such a concern, and why the offense may have to carry more weight than originally anticipated. Because the NFL is about margins, and in September, momentum matters as much as talent. What happens if Williams does struggle? The fan base needs to brace itself for that possibility. The reality is that rookies almost always have bumpy stretches. Peyton Manning threw 28 interceptions his first season. Josh Allen looked like a project before blossoming in year 3. The point is, development isn't linear, and patience is part of the process. The Bears must resist the temptation to panic if Williams has a rough outing against a divisional rival. What they should look for are flashes, the throws on the move, the deep shots downfield, the command in the huddle. Those are the signs of growth, even if the box score doesn't sparkle. The true evaluation of a rookie quarterback doesn't happen in one night. It happens over months, over the way he responds to adversity, and over the consistency he builds week after week. All of that ties back to the original concerns. If the pass rush can't get home, if injuries keep key defenders off the field, and if the left tackle continues to be shaky, then yes, the pressure on the rookie quarterback grows tenfold. But that doesn't mean the season is lost. It means the Bears have to find other ways to win. Maybe that's leaning on the run game. Maybe it's dialing up creative blitzes. Maybe it's finding ways to keep games ugly and close until Williams and the offense find their rhythm. Every season is a story, and the first chapters often look messy before the plot comes together. What matters most for Chicago is not whether every problem is solved in week 1, but whether the foundation is being laid for something bigger. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give this video a like. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on our Chicago Bears. And don't be shy. Drop your thoughts on the news in the comments below. And that uncertainty matters even more when you consider the context. Caleb Williams is entering his rookie season with massive expectations. The fan base is starved for stability at quarterback, and this franchise has spent years searching for a savior. Williams doesn't need to be an all-pro overnight, but he does need protection. Every young quarterback needs a clean pocket to build confidence, to read defenses without the constant fear of getting crushed from behind. If Jones isn't up to the task, you risk derailing his development before it even gets started. The Bears don't have the luxury of hiding him either. This isn't right guard or a rotational defensive end. This is left tackle, the guy who faces elite pass rushers week after week. And right now, the best-case scenario feels like serviceable. That's a tough pill to swallow for a team banking on a strong offensive line to help its rookie quarterback thrive. So here we are, just days away from the season opener, and 3 major concerns hang over this roster like a cloud. A pass rush that doesn't scare anyone, a defense riddled with injuries, and a left tackle situation that feels more like survival than stability. None of these issues mean the season is doomed. There are positives to point to: a promising quarterback, a coaching staff willing to adapt, and playmakers on both sides of the ball who can change games. But the margin for error in the NFL is razor thin, and when you line up against divisional opponents like Minnesota and Detroit right out the gate, there's not much time to work through growing pains. If the Bears can't generate pressure, if their starters on defense aren't healthy, and if Williams is constantly running for his life, the optimism of training camp could quickly give way to frustration. The next 2 weeks will be critical in determining whether these are just early season hiccups or signs of deeper problems that could define the year. If the first wave of concerns for the Bears rests on the shoulders of the defense and the blind side of Caleb Williams, then the second wave is all about how this team is going to find its rhythm on offense, what kind of identity it wants to build, and how quickly a rookie quarterback can turn potential into production under the bright lights of the National Football League. Every season opener comes with pressure, but this one feels amplified. A divisional matchup, primetime television, a fan base desperate to believe, and a young quarterback carrying the weight of expectation that has been building since the moment Chicago secured the first overall pick. Caleb Williams doesn't just represent hope, he represents change. He represents the end of a carousel that has spun for decades, tossing out names that never quite lived up to the billing. The Bears are not asking him to win a Super Bowl tomorrow, but they are asking him to set the tone for a new era. And to do that, he has to survive long enough behind this offensive line to show what he can do. What makes this situation fascinating is the contrast between the patience that should be afforded to a rookie and the urgency of the schedule that lies ahead. Minnesota in Week 1 is no joke, especially with their ability to move Jefferson all over the field and test every weak spot in a secondary that may not be at full strength. Then you follow that with Detroit, a team loaded with swagger, talent, and a pass rush that thrives on overwhelming tackles who can't hold their ground. There isn't a soft landing here. This is trial by fire. For Williams, that means growing up fast, trusting his instincts, and leaning heavily on the weapons that general manager Ryan Poles worked so hard to surround him with. You look at the offensive roster, and you see potential everywhere. There is speed on the outside, versatility in the slot, and a backfield capable of grinding out tough yards. But all of it will come down to how quickly the coaching staff can find balance and how much trust Williams can put in his protection. Ben Johnson's scheme is supposed to be quarterback-friendly, built around timing, spacing, and taking advantage of mismatches. The challenge comes when the timing is disrupted by pressure, when the pocket collapses before the route has time to develop. That is why so much of the conversation has circled back to Braxton Jones and the offensive line as a whole. Johnson knows that if he can keep Williams clean, even just clean enough, the kid's natural talent will take over. Williams has the arm strength, the creativity, and the mobility to make something out of nothing. But no rookie, no matter how gifted, can consistently thrive when he's picking himself off the turf. The hope is that Joe Thuney's presence on the left side and a fully healthy Tevin Jenkins on the right can solidify the guard spots, giving the tackles some much-needed support. At center, the stability of a veteran presence will also matter, because communication is the silent heartbeat of an offensive line, and with a rookie quarterback, mistakes in protection calls can turn disastrous in a hurry. Beyond the line, the Bears' offensive success will depend on whether their playmakers can rise to the moment. DeAndre Swift brings explosiveness out of the backfield, and if he stays healthy, he can give Williams a reliable safety valve in both the running and passing game. Rookie Bakaju Manungai has shown flashes too, and while no one expects him to be a star overnight, his energy and vision could add an element this offense has lacked in recent years. At receiver, the Bears are banking on a blend of youth and experience. The veteran leadership of DJ Moore sets the tone, while players like Romo Duns and Tyler Scott give a unit a jolt of speed and youth. Cole Kmet, meanwhile, has become a dependable option at tight end, someone Williams can look to when the pocket gets messy and he needs a quick outlet. The pieces are there. The question is whether they can click fast enough to keep up with the firepower they're about to face in their own division. Whispers have begun to ripple through the NFL community as KENDRICK BOURNE, a wide receiver whose speed and agility have been honed through years of professional play, reportedly confirmed his imminent arrival at the Chicago Bears. Sources close to the situation hint at a development that could reshape the Bears' offensive strategies, injecting a fresh dynamism into a team that has long struggled to consistently connect its aerial attack. Bourne's career trajectory suggests a player accustomed to high-pressure environments, capable of exploiting defensive mismatches with both precision and flair. Analysts speculate that his arrival could signal a broader restructuring within the Bears' receiving core, as the coaching staff may be seeking to pair him with emerging talents to form a multi-dimensional offensive threat. The rumor mills are abuzz with discussions about Bourne's potential chemistry with the Bears quarterback, whose mobility and field vision have been widely regarded as underutilized in previous seasons. If this move is finalized, the Bears could see a transformation in their red zone efficiency and deep ball capabilities, offering fans an exhilarating prospect of high-scoring games. Behind closed doors, Team insiders suggest negotiations have been intricate, involving not only salary considerations but also projected roles, targets per game, and integration into the team's evolving playbook, a process reflecting the seriousness with which both parties approach this union. The excitement among supporters is palpable, with speculation now shifting to how soon Bourne could take the field, whether he will start immediately, and how his presence might impact current roster hierarchies, particularly among veteran receivers whose positions may now be in flux due to the rumored addition. Social media has exploded with fan theories, mock plays, and highlight reels of Bourne's past performances, illustrating the anticipation surrounding elation. Also touches on the possible whispers of potential public appearances, interviews, and media coverage, all designed to generate hype and reinforce the perception that the Bears are making a serious play to revitalize their offensive identity. Fantasy football enthusiasts are poring over stats and past performances, predicting target shares, touchdowns, and overall impact on scoring, feeding into the broader narrative of a player whose signing could be a game-changer. This rumor, vibrant and persistent, continues to dominate conversations, highlighting not only Bourne's potential contributions, but also the strategic acumen and forward-thinking approach of a franchise intent on making a statement in the upcoming season. Speculation surrounding KENDRICK Bourne's rumored move to the Chicago Bears has taken on a life of its own, with fans, analysts, and insiders alike dissecting every potential implication and strategizing about how the team's offense might evolve with his addition. Bourne's reputation for precise route running and dependable hands has generated chatter about immediate benefits in red zone situations and third down scenarios, where the Bears have often struggled to maintain consistency in recent seasons. The rumored acquisition is portrayed as more than a simple personnel upgrade, with whispers suggesting that it may represent a philosophical shift toward a faster, more versatile passing offense designed to exploit defenses that underestimate the Bears' ability to create mismatches. Conversations in sports circles speculate that Bourne's presence could directly influence the quarterback's decision-making, encouraging more aggressive downfield attempts and altering defensive priorities, a scenario that has excited fans anticipating a more dynamic, unpredictable attack. Rumors hint at ongoing coordination with offensive coordinators, examining how Bourne's skill set complements the team's running backs and tight ends, potentially creating a multi-layered offensive strategy capable of overwhelming opponents. Social media platforms have become echo chambers for speculative analysis, with highlight reels, statistical breakdowns, and mock play designs fueling the excitement and spreading the narrative far beyond the confines of Chicago. Sources suggest that behind the scenes, the organization is carefully managing the optics of the announcement, using the rumor to build suspense while ensuring contractual details are fully aligned, a strategy that demonstrates both caution and ambition. The excitement is tangible, with fans, commentators, and fantasy football managers anxiously awaiting confirmation, debating Bourne's potential impact on game outcomes, team rankings, and even the morale and cohesion of the Bears roster. In essence, the rumor has become a self-perpetuating story, shaping expectations, energizing supporters, and generating a buzz that suggests Bourne's arrival could be a turning point in the Bears' pursuit of renewed offensive prominence. Amid the swirling speculation regarding KENDRICK Bourne's expected integration into the Chicago Bears, discussions have intensified around the broader implications for team strategy, locker room culture, and the perception of the franchise in the eyes of fans and competitors alike. Observers speculate that Bourne's addition could catalyze a shift toward a more aggressive passing scheme, potentially revitalizing a unit that has faced criticism for predictable play calling and inconsistent execution. Insiders hint that coaches are exploring innovative formations that exploit Bourne's agility, speed, and situational awareness, integrating him into scenarios designed to stretch defenses both horizontally and vertically. The rumor has also sparked conversation about its potential influence on the Bears' draft and free agent strategies, as analysts consider how the team might balance the roster around a receiver with Bourne's skill set, while maintaining depth and versatility across all offensive positions. Fans have flooded online forums with theories about target shares, chemistry with the quarterback, and the likelihood of Bourne becoming a focal point in critical moments, creating a narrative that elevates anticipation for the upcoming season. Sources close to the organization suggest ongoing coordination between coaching staff, management, and player representatives, aimed at ensuring seamless adaptation to the team's playbook while aligning expectations regarding leadership, work ethic, and team cohesion. Fantasy football enthusiasts are poring over historical statistics, predicting how BOURNE's potential integration could shift scoring patterns and alter league-wide projections, fueling conversations that extend well beyond traditional sports media. Ultimately, the rumor encapsulates not just the excitement of a single player's arrival, but the strategic calculations, cultural adjustments, and forward-looking planning that a franchise engages in when seeking to redefine its identity. The narrative surrounding BOURNE continues to evolve, captivating fans, analysts, and insiders, leaving an air of suspense that hints at transformative possibilities for the Chicago Bears' offensive ambitions, while maintaining a tantalizing sense of uncertainty until official confirmation arrives. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay updated with exclusive news about our Chicago Bears, be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button. We can't wait to hear your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next video.